Hey guys, I've got a special guest for you today. This man has done so much in his life and he's been through so much at the same time. Yeah, growing up with learning disabilities, things like that, or being typecast. How about we talk about that? And then on top of that, finding a way to overcome that, building multiple successful businesses, selling them, moving on to the next. And then on top of that, he had a successful mixed martial arts career, including winning light heavyweight titles twice. And now he is living in Pattaya, Thailand, where he's getting ready to welcome the birth of his first child. That and so much more. Today's guest, Nick, the Headhunter Chapman. Nick Chapman, the Headhunter. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, here we are. We get to talk again. I know it was off air, but this time we get to talk on air. And Nick, there's so many great things. I know one of the things that we want to talk about is obviously your mixed martial arts career, which you started at later on in life. I mean, compared to most people, but you've had a lot of. There's so much about you that I think is interesting, and the world probably wants to know, needs to know. I'm sure there's a lot of it that's X-rated, but what we really want to, why don't we start off with something simple? You're right now, you live in Thailand, Pattaya, Thailand, but you're originally from the Queensland, from England. And can you tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from growing up? And let's just get to know a little bit of Nicky the Chapman.
Yeah, Nicky, that's what he used to call me when I was a kid coming up. That's crazy. So I'm actually from a place called Guildford in Surrey. It's just outside of London. It's a bit south. It was a nice part of the UK. I don't like the UK very much, but if you're going to live in the UK, it was all right. I was a very troubled kid growing up. I had a lot of issues, but I managed to overcome them and found myself now living in paradise. So it's been a hard journey, but I don't think I'd change any of it really looking back.
Yeah. Well, so in Guildford, growing up, only child, any siblings?
No, 2 brothers, 2 sisters.
2 brothers and 2 sisters. And where do you fit into that pecking order?
I'm the second oldest, but I was always kind of the biggest. So I was kind of not the oldest, but was looked at as the oldest.
Interesting. So any instincts to protect the other siblings? Did your parents ever give you that, hey, you better watch out for them?
They didn't have to. It come naturally. I mean, we all kind of looked out for each other, but I probably had more fights over my sister than I did in a professional fighting capacity. I was always fighting at school over my sisters, especially the older one. And she had a habit of picking on the biggest, meanest blokes in the school. I was a year below her, and all I ever found myself doing was fighting guys like two years above me because my sister had a row with one of them. Yeah, so maybe that's where it all started.
Are you and your sister still close?
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. My older sister, yeah, she's brilliant. We speak to her.
That's
we
great.
speak a lot.
Yeah. Hopefully, you're not having to fly over and to get into any fights to defend her now. She's probably tamed down a little bit, but
actually, the roles are reversed. She's probably more capable than me now.
So tell me a little bit about that, because my understanding, and I've heard you talk about this before, that growing up, there's a lot of things that were kind of rough for you. Most specifically, I know that you talked about issues with school and with learning. Can you talk a little bit about what your early life was like with school?
Yeah, I think school was just the root of all of my problems growing up. I hated it. Like, even sitting here now, I can remember the smell of the classroom, the sound of the teacher's voice, and I hated it. Like, couldn't stand it, because they tried to put me in these classes and categories and fit me into these little boxes and give me a very specific way of doing things. And I I mean, they diagnosed me. They labeled me with a learning disability, which is absolutely not a learning disability. It's an absolute blessing. I mean, it's like a superpower for me now. But back then, it was very much, I'm not going to call it a disability, but it was very, very difficult for a young guy to get to grips with, because there's a very structured regime in school of how you should learn and what you should be learning. And I just didn't want, I didn't want any of it. Didn't want to know it. Didn't care for it. And I found myself feeling quite stupid, being called stupid quite regularly when I knew I was not stupid. And it was very frustrating. It made me angry. It made me so angry, like a rage inside me that I couldn't control. And it literally just went spiraling out of control up to my sort of mid-20s. Yeah, all stemmed from school, I think.
So looking back on that now, can you see what what was so angering about it? Like, I mean, because there's, you can have people turn their back on you. You can have people say bad things to you, and it can just burn inside. But for you, it raged so much that it would come out. Can you see what that was about?
Yeah,
now looking back on it?
With age comes wisdom, and I don't think I'd trade wisdom for youth ever. I mean, when you're young, you're kind of young, but you don't realize how great wisdom is. But when you're old, you remember youth, but you have wisdom. And now I know about both. I'd never want to go back there again. Not no way. I mean, some people say I'd go back there knowing what I know now. Okay, maybe I'd consider that, but I don't want to go back there and have to do that all again. It was a very hard slog for me. I think. I don't know. There was something inside of me, I think, was always going to be angry. And I had this aversion towards aggression, just raw aggression and anger. And I had the most amazing upbringing. I don't even know why I was like that. I went through child therapy and I went through probation at sometimes. And, teachers at school are like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. It was crazy. So I think I was always going to be angry. And I think maybe... I wasn't looking for the world to, I guess maybe I was blaming the world. I was blaming the world for the way I was feeling. And it was very hard to understand. But now I realize, okay, so back then, I just have a very different way of doing things than everybody else. And if you just let me do things my way, then nobody needs to get hurt and everyone's going to be okay. But back then they were forced. Even my dad tried to make me learn a certain way, told me I've got to go to college and get this job. And he was a brilliant father, don't get me wrong, but I didn't want to go to school, to college and learn how to be an electrician. I wanted to get into boxing rings and punch people in the face for a living. And he could not understand that. So I was just fighting the system the whole way through my life. I think that was the problem.
Yeah. Well, tell me, what was that? Look, every parent, and I know that you're embarking on that. You're going to be up that creek real soon. But every parent, with dealing with their kids and trying to set them on a path, what was that like for your parents? Meanwhile, they've got you with all of this rage. I mean, what was that like with that dynamic?
Well, my dad used to refer to it as trying to turn a tugboat round. Like, you imagine a tugboat pulling a ship. He's like, you're trying to turn one of them things round. He said, for me, it was impossible to manage. I was just so willful. I was never, ever going to change. Nothing my parents could have ever done would have changed the path I was going to take. And, they were fantastic. They tried very hard. But it's actually, like you said, I've got a little on the way, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, I just hope to God that my kid is not like I was, because God help me. Do you believe in karma? I'm kind of hoping that it doesn't really exist.
I gotta say, I'm really curious, because if you were pushing that hard, there had to have been times where your dad was like, what in the world did I gave birth? Hun, this is your kid. This is not mine. Did you guys ever, did things ever come push to shove? Did you guys ever go through those phases where you and your dad and your parents didn't agree?
Yeah. My mum saved me from boarding school. My dad was like, get rid of him. Like, he's got to go. And my mum said, if you put him in there, I'll leave you. And then I don't blame my dad at the time. Obviously, I hated him for it. But now I'm like, Dad, like, I'm sorry. I get it now. Like, bless him. He went through hell on earth for me. He'd never had a fight in his life. the only person he's ever had a fight with is me, like a physical fight. And I swung baseball bats at him. I'm not joking. It was tough for him. And I'm, when I was young, I was like, I was the guy. I was feeling like the victim. It was all tough for me. But looking back, no way, dude. It was like, it was tough for my dad to have to manage a kid like me. I don't know why, just so full of rage, full of anger, out of control. I didn't care about consequences. I loved adrenaline, and I never ever, like, the feeling of fear. People talk about fear. To me, I never felt that. To me, I only ever felt excitement and adrenaline, and that I loved that feeling, which is kind of why I went into cage fighting, because so that concoction was just like a nightmare for a father. So I apologize to him every day now.
but I want to go into that just a little bit further. I mean, obviously, this is Leadership to Wealth, and one of the things that we really want to examine is being able to look back and see some of those dynamics. And I mean, you actually used a really strong word that you actually hated him at that point. And I know you've got hindsight now, you've got wisdom now, but what was it like for you at that point in time when you felt like your dad was literally against you?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It wasn't like I singled out my dad either. I just felt that way about everybody, like the teachers, anyone. There was a few people in my life that I didn't look at like that. Like my grandparents were amazing, and I mean, my dad was amazing. So was my mum. I don't know. I just took like this aversion to everybody, like the whole world. So it wasn't like I singled out my dad and I hated my dad. I didn't hate him. I just didn't like the world. I didn't like anything. It was really strange. That's a really good perspective. Yeah,
that's interesting. But I mean, I'll just share, and we've talked about it off camera. I grew up. My dad was an alcoholic, and we had some violence in the home, and I remember having some, both being angry and terrified of my father. But I also remember, my feelings towards my mother. And I remember a point where they were alien to me. Where I cut them off. I said, no, you know what? I want nothing really to do with you guys. Not completely, so to say. I look back on it now. They're very loving parents. They tried their best. They gave their best. And I was a hard-headed kid. But at that point in time, I just couldn't see anything that they were trying to do for me. But it sounds like you could even understand a little bit of that they were trying. I mean, and that you had, maybe an animosity towards more than just them. Were you able to see that they still actually cared for you?
That's a great question. I kind of always knew my mum did. Looking back, I kind of like, if I look back now, I know my dad was always there for me. I always knew that. But but it was at the time, I don't really think I got that completely, no. So that was part of the issue. So that's an interesting point. Yeah.
Well, because some of what you're saying is really resonating for me, even, and I'm like, I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking about some of the hatred that I even had for different people, for my family and that, and how I took some of that, and what I realized, and I don't know, these gray hairs are worth something now, but what I realized was that really a lot of that hatred and animosity was actually turned inside. It was actually how I felt about myself. Can you say anything about that?
As you said, we've spoke off camera quite a lot, me and yourself, and I really do feel that we can completely relate to each other on this level. Yes, absolutely. It was completely an inward feeling. It was all coming from me. There was no one else to blame but me. I just wasn't old enough or wise enough to understand how to manage my feelings. They were a lot stronger than everybody else's. My will was a lot stronger than everybody else's. When I was at school, everyone did as they were told, and I'd question everything. I'm like, why? I don't want to do that. Like, but we have to. I'm like, why? I don't want to do it. So that's I think massively part of the problem. Is it was all me. It was all inward feeling that I didn't know how to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you took that, and I mean, obviously, you've shared a little bit about getting into MMA, but
Yeah.
you know, we all know there was some there were some warm-ups leading to that, perhaps at the
Yeah.
bars or in the streets.
Yeah.
You know, what was the shift there that took you into MMA that made you think that's the direction I want to go?
Okay, so I think from as early as I can remember, like from 5 years old, I've always loved fighting. It is what it is. And I loved it. I've enjoyed it. And I've always told my whole life, you can't, well, not my whole life actually, but my younger years, you can't go around fighting. You can't do this. I mean, I've never ever laid a finger on a woman. I've got respect for old people, women, children, animals. But when it's a fair game, even like the bullies in the school, they're the guys I go for. I hate seeing people being bullied. It drives me mad. So I'd always think that was a great excuse for me to have a fight. I want to go and attack the bully. And from as young as I can remember, I've just loved to fight. I've done martial arts since I was 5, 6, and most of my life I had a really nasty accident which took me out of training, and then I started drinking once I'd recovered, and then I was in the streets fighting, and that got out of hand. And I loved it. What can I say? I can't lie about the fact that I like to fight, because when I was young, there was really, like, I wanted to box, and my mum didn't want me boxing. She didn't want me getting hit in the head, and I was like, it's not me you've got to worry about. But she wouldn't let me box, so I ended up doing taekwondo, and I got thrown out of 2 tournaments because I went a little bit over the top.
Instead of using your hands, you're using your feet. That was great.
Yeah. Well, you're not supposed to land the strikes. You're supposed to throw these kicks in the air and not land anything. And I ended up charging some guy into the crowd because I just wanted to. And then that was it. I disgraced the school, and they threw me off the competition, and that happened twice. I just wanted to fight. I don't know what to say about it. And it happened all through my life. And then, of course, when MMA came along, I was just sitting there with my pals, just like everybody else, at 17, 18 years old, going, I want to do that. And all my mates just laughed at me, and I'm like, no, I'm serious. That is for me. And then I went on a path to try and get into it. And I had some injuries and some times in hospital, and a couple of little mishaps that happened along the way, as you do when you're a lad, which prevented me. But eventually I got there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think about some of the dust-ups I got into. One of the things that I got to say is that often I don't know, maybe this is just back in the day, 2 guys could fight, and then once one guy was beaten, it was like, all right, the fight's over. And now when we were younger, you might end up becoming friends afterwards, but you just kind of left it at that, and there was nothing more to it. It was solved and you moved on. But one of the things that I've got to say I'm really glad about is that I was fortunate enough to be able to avoid any serious injuries or any serious implications of that. But let me ask this, because this is something that I'm curious about. If you really love fighting that much, do you think it's really about the physical, or is it about the psychological challenge for you? What is it about fighting that you really crave?
You've nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. It isn't psychological. It's not the physical. It's just pure and simply the challenge. That's it. I love it. I love the feeling. I love the feeling mentally, and I love the feeling physically. I get goosebumps just sitting here now talking to you, thinking about, the challenge. It isn't about hurting people. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes it is. Like when someone pisses you off and you're young, you want to hurt them. But even then, I knew when enough was enough. I'd arrange a fight after school, sometimes 2. I'd have the first one and finish him, and then go into the second one straight after. No joke. I'd line them up. Yeah. And I'd give them a little bit of a beating. I never really lost, and I'd move on. But for me, it was all about the challenge. Okay, I love that adrenaline rush. It's like nothing on earth competes. I love the psychological, because what you can learn from managing your emotions and overcoming fear to an extent, it's incredible. So there's so much about it, but the ultimate goal for me is all about the challenge. Whether it's back in the early days, it was about fighting. That was my way of challenging myself. Now I was obviously older and a bit wiser. Now it's business. I've just transferred all of those onto the feelings.
Yeah, well, you've actually started and run a number of successful businesses, and that just really speaks to that you're a bit of a sadist. You like pain.
Yeah, clearly the business in the UK, that is
yeah. Now
pain.
you're having a kid, so you definitely like pain. So okay, we got that. But there is something there that what I find a lot of people, they just can't understand that aspect. They're looking to avoid pain. They're looking to get away from it, and they'll do whatever they can to avoid those things. But for you, that establishes something for you, that says something for you and about you, that you can look in the mirror. What does that say to you?
I love what you just said there, man. Literally, right? I'm the type of guy that sees a challenge. I don't care what it is. It could be burning fire, and if someone, I'm going to run straight at it. I love it. I found out that you're never going to develop in your comfort zones. You're never going to develop and make progress. You have to step out of your comfort zones. I learned that from a young age, and I used to find myself getting into situations initially, and then I'd be like, wow, like once I come out the other side of it, I've learned so much, and I was like, such a great feeling. I was like, wow, like I didn't initially want to be in them situations, but once I'd got through, I'd learned a lot about myself, and I'd learned to develop so much that I was like, I want more of that. Like it was almost like a learning experience. So I don't shy away from any challenge at all. Absolutely throw them at me. I love it. And I kind of believe, and I truly believe, nothing in this world can beat me. Nothing in this world can stop me achieving what I want to. I truly believe it. And I'm still yet to find something that will.
Yeah. Well, okay. So clearly, so let me ask you, when you were fighting during your MMA career, did you? Now I know you loved smiling while you were in the ring, which is crazy. You love it's like hit me again, and you're smiling at your opponents. But were you ever scared when you were in the ring?
Nah, not at all. Absolutely not at all. And you know what? Listen, okay. A lot of fighters will say we're all scared, we're all fear, we'll feel fear. I'm sorry, I don't. I just feel excitement. I feel energy. I feel just like this, just feeling inside of me, and it's not fear. And I think I used to tell my fighters before they'd go out, they'd shake. I'm nervous. I'm nervous. I'm like, listen, right? That is a complete misconception. This is not nerves. You're not feeling fear. You're not feeling nerves, because if you were that scared, you'd be running. Okay, this is your body preparing itself to do something that you want to do. This is a misconstrued emotion. This is adrenaline. This is your body preparing for a fight. If you don't feel this, you shouldn't be here. So I think people misconstrue fear with just a preparation process the body goes through. And I kind of knew this at young. I love that feeling. And I, win, lose or draw, I'm 80% success rate. I usually win, and when I don't win, I learn. But never. I'm not scared to take on any challenge. Just not at all. And I get in that ring or that cage, and I'm willing to die. Simple. I'm like not even afraid of my own death. Even to this day, I'm not afraid of my own death. And I just think too many people these days are just too weak and too worried about things. And a lot of the time, you worry about stuff and it doesn't even happen. So no, I can't say that I was scared. I'm not going to say I've never been scared. Of course, I've been scared in my life. I have been scared about some things. I've feared of loss, like losing someone. I feared that before. I feared about a business that I built from nothing, and I was worried. I was feared that it might fail at one point. But I soon found out as well that those type of emotions only bring on that same type of outcome. So I switched my brain into positivity quickly, and then it goes. I think it's all in the mind, really.
I got to tell you, it is crazy what you are saying to me right now. You're literally making me, oh my goodness. I'm like, whew. Okay. So I'm thinking about times in business where it's like there's stuff that is on your shoulders, and you're like, I'm going to fail. This is all going to mess up. I'm going to fail. And you're bringing me to a place where my shoulders feel heavy, and I literally have to just look and go, let's go. No, I'm not. I can't. I cannot let this No, I can't do it. Forget it.
There you go.
I don't even have the words for it. This is what
It's a feeling, isn't it?
you're
Yeah,
bringing. Yeah. They're like, no,
yeah.
I'm not
I
going
love that.
down that road. And
There you go.
it doesn't disappear, but it's just like, I don't care. I'm going to go down swinging rather than go down the other way around. And
my man, that's what I'm talking about. The more you put on me, the more you tell me I'm going to fail, the harder life gets, the more I'm going to rise up. I swear to God, I cannot allow myself to be beaten. Look, we can all lose. We can all make mistakes, but you don't fail unless you accept defeat. There is no failure until you accept defeat. You get back up, you dust off, and you go again, and you keep going. I just think, I love what you just said, man. Brilliant. So cool.
Goodness. I'm like, look at me. I'm like holding myself together because I'm like, oh my goodness. You really just brought me to a place that I'm like,
Brilliant.
Oh my goodness. That's really, you know, how many people get to that place and you don't know what to do. And you think that it's time to give up. And instead, I really appreciate what you created there, because you're really speaking to the opportunity that it is to instead rise up rather than give up. And, you know, now, you know, I know there's many times where we probably, you can probably say this, there's probably times where in that instance, it probably should have been a signal to stop whatever was going on. But instead you took it as a signal. No, I'm going to beat this. You're not going to beat me.
Okay, that's the flip side to having that type of mentality. Yeah. So I can give you a couple of stories. Yeah.
That's great. So tell us a little bit about your business and your success in business, and what you found are some of the keys to being able to identify a business to build and how to build it in a way that creates success.
I love that. Okay, so it all stemmed from school. Okay, at school I was an imbecile. Well, no, I'm not an imbecile. I just didn't like it. I couldn't get my head around it. I hated it. I literally got thrown out of school at 13 and I was told I'd amount to nothing. But again, this is the whole challenge thing. And I was like, well, I won't amount to nothing. I'm not stupid. I know I'm not stupid. And I went on a mission to learn. But before I could start learning, I had to teach myself how to learn, if that makes any sense. So I started trying all these different courses. I found I was very good at art and design. So I went to college and I thought, well, I'll do art and design because I haven't got to do much writing. And that was where the problems were, was listening and writing and translating information. And it was a big problem for me. So I went and done art and design, and I was flying through the first few weeks. And all of a sudden we had an art history class where like I had to sit there and we're back in the lecture scenario. And I was like, shit. And the teachers, they loved me. I was doing so well until this point. And I just sat there. My head went red. I got angry again. The same feelings come back. I went, fuck this, man. Picked up my bag and just started walking out. And this lady, Moira, she changed my life. She was my lecturer at the time. She said, Nick, where are you going? I said, fuck this. I'm done. I don't want to be here. And she said, right, just wait there. And she took me aside. She said to the class, I'll be back with me. She took me and she said, you've done so well. Why is it now there's an issue? And she identified that there was a problem. And we literally sat me down. She spent so much time with me and she taught me how to learn. And dude, it was like a eureka moment. It was like the skies just opened up and I just went crazy head on with education. And I have literally spent my entire life, even to this day, this very morning, I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning. I did some studying, and I do pretty much every day. And I studied business studies, nutrition, strength conditioning, sports science, and it goes on. I mean, I have now more qualifications than anyone I've ever known. And I mean, I've got a stack of them this big, and I'm still always learning. So business was an area that I absolutely love because my dad encouraged me to be a businessman. So I literally
wait. Hang on. I don't want to miss what Moira.
Moira, yeah.
Moira, what did she teach you in that moment? What was that? What was it that she shared with you that made you open up?
She was the first person ever to sit me down and say, I know what the problem is. And I'm like, no, you don't. There is no problem. And she went and she just broke everything down. And she said piece by piece. And she was so calm. And I was like, oh my God, like, the woman made me feel like I wasn't stupid for the first time in my life when I knew I wasn't. It's like, I know in my brain I'm sharp. I know I'm not stupid, but I just couldn't grasp the concepts. Anyway, she just broke it down, and we went through these I don't know, strategies, and just helped me realize what the issues was. And she used to give me handouts with all the notes written for the lectures, and I'd literally just read them and highlight the areas instead of having to take notes, because for me, like, trying to keep up and take notes at the same time, it was really frustrating me. So I was just highlighting the bits that are relevant. And I could not believe how quickly this stuff was going in. I was like, this is fucking great. And it was like a new, I don't know, just like a new feeling, a new wave that took over me. It didn't take the anger. The anger was in there. So that's what I mean. I think that was always going to be there. But that anger become like a driving force for me to learn, because I'm going to show everyone that called me stupid. I'm going to show them people. Even if they never see me again and they don't see, I'm going to show myself that I'm not stupid. And that's when I went on a mission to learn about business studies, and that's how the business has come about.
Yeah. So did you found that what I'm hearing is that what you found was, okay, so there's something with auditory learning, but you're better with being able to read. Is that something that you found there, being able to read and learn rather than take in audio?
Well, interesting enough, I later went to university and I'd done an actual dyslexia assessment, and I identified exactly everything that was the issue. But I'd already found my own way of learning by that time, and it was more of a case of I wanted some support while I was there. And it's basically information processing. So, like, if I read something, it could take me like 5 minutes before it registers. It's slower to go in, but when it goes in, it never leaves. It's amazing. So it's like a blessing. But at the time, I'm like, not getting it, and it was just crazy. So when they're lecturing and I'm trying to take notes, I can't listen, and I'm getting completely lost. And reading as well, I can read very well. And the thing is, I always done well in my exams, like English and maths and stuff. So it couldn't really be identified, because I could take the information in. It was just slower initially. Yeah. Very strange, very strange.
They were like, he keeps passing everything. What's going on?
Yeah, well, exactly. And I was above average as well. I was 85% in everything, like English spelling, reading, writing. So they're like, well, you're not stupid, but you're not. You are in the class. I don't know. It was just so frustrating, dude.
Yeah. So now, when you took this into business, how did you take that into and just start identifying areas to go into? Was it just areas of interest, or did you start looking at business and going, oh, this is an opportunity here, and go down that route? What was it that?
I love talking to you. Your questions are great. So, okay, it's interesting because I've actually done both. I actually started businesses based on passion because it wasn't so much hard work, but I also started businesses based on opportunity because there was more money and there was better opportunity, but it was more hard work because I didn't enjoy it so much. So construction company I built from nothing, absolutely from nothing. I had a van, a couple of tools, and one guy and me, and I had qualified bricklayer over 3 years at college as well. So I started doing some bricklaying, and I turned that company into a multi-million-pound business within 2 years. I mean, over 1 million, so just below 2 million in the second year. And you know, then I had my chain of gyms, my Fight Science gyms, which was my pure passion. So that was easy. And again, that built into a national franchise. Even though the four big banks in the UK said, but we've not seen many businesses meet all criteria to be a recognized franchise with the four big banks in just 3 years. I'd met that quite comfortably. So it was interesting. I'd done passion and I'd done opportunity. I hated the businesses that were based on opportunity. I loved the businesses that were based on passion, but they were both successful. They were, because what I learned from all my learning difficulties was outside the box thinking. I had a very, I don't know, my brain works really well with marketing and finding opportunities. Plus, I'm an absolute perfectionist, and my customers are always my number one primary importance. Like, I want to make sure that they get the best quality of service. So, yeah, it's always been the same model. I do a lot of planning. I do a lot of research, which I learned in all my business studies courses. Like, I will plan a business for months or years before I even start it. So I already know it's going to be a success before it starts. So they've all been pretty successful. I've had some learning experiences, but generally they've been good.
and any now with that much planning, you probably see most of the pitfalls along the way. Can you talk at all about things that you didn't see coming when you were running businesses?
Oh yeah. So I mean, look, it's the oldest trick in the book, or the oldest saying. It's one time I made a mistake. I trusted a friend and I signed a contract that I read, and I misconstrued one word. It was proceeds of sale. We had an agreement on a property, and I thought it meant profit. Okay, it was a legitimized scam. Huge mistake. Cost me tens of thousands of pounds, and it was a scam. I got caught in it because I trusted a friend. So that should never have happened, because I'd done contractual law in college at national diploma level. I'm like, why did I do that? Why the hell did I do that? Anyway, it drove me on to make great successes in the long run. I think that the biggest thing I learned was, as I say, the opportunity versus passion. Like when you're into passion, if it's a passion you're into, then it's a lot easier. It's like it's not as hard work. When it's an opportunity and you don't really have passion for it, you got to work twice as hard.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I a lot of people ask me about when it comes to business. Obviously, being in finance myself, one of the things that people will ask is, how can you do all of this stuff? And I said, it's simple, because I'm out here playing while you're working. I'm playing. I don't get tired playing. Are you kidding me? I get to talk to people. I get to learn from them. I get to help make people money. We get to do all that. And for me, I get to learn the whole time through, which is really probably the biggest piece of it all for me. Right. So, I find I like what you're saying about the passion, but one of the things, and I don't know, maybe you can say something about this. One of the things that I found is that, if you can find in a business of opportunity, if you can find the thing that you're passionate about in that opportunity, then, and you go down that part and you build a team around you to fill in on the other parts, you can do amazing that way. Can you say something about that? What you see from your business experience?
Yeah, that's a great perspective, dude. Okay, so the construction company made me a lot of money, but it was hard work. I didn't, I enjoyed the challenge, but I didn't really enjoy the day-to-day activities and the roles I had to carry out. However,
was it not challenging enough mentally?
Oh, it was way challenging enough. That wasn't so much the issue. It was just not as much fun as going into a gym every day and punching people in the face for a living. That was obviously much more fun. So so my first ever fight, I'd never had a fight before. I'd only had about 3 or 4 months of proper MMA training. And before I'd got in the ring, I had a brand, I had a website, I had a like a gum shield and a name, and I had sponsorship. I had £1,000 sponsorship. I'd sold 400 tickets to my first ever fight. Never been in a fight in a cage in my life. Not even stepped in a cage for training. And I'd sold out the whole VIP section, and I was actually then put to co-main event on a show that was reasonably big at the time, and I never had a fight because I took my passion and I saw an opportunity and I created a whole business around it. I got criticized by so many people for thinking I'm something I'm not. Well, I didn't think I was anything. I was just doing what come naturally to me, which was make it exciting, engage people with what I'm doing, bring them on. I didn't proclaim to be the best fighter in the world. I never had a fight. I was there because I wanted to be there. And I played on the fact that I was a bit of a thug before, and, come and watch me have a scrap, and people loved it. So yeah, it's great. I took the opportunity and I went with passion and I mixed the two together, and it was a huge success. It just went from strength to strength. And that's obviously where later on down the line, in just a few years, I created a whole gym franchise.
Yeah. Now, okay. Usually, if someone is good in one area, they usually lack in another area. So when it comes to business, what would you say is an area that is your strength versus the area that's your weakness?
Love that, dude. Right. Okay. So when I started fighting, I was pretty good at grappling. My striking was not good. So what did I do? I just made sure that I worked on all the areas I needed to work on to make myself good at what I had to do. And business was no different. I found that I was very, very smart at marketing, had very out of the box ideas, which just boosted my business. But I realized that my money management wasn't so good. So I went and done a specialized money management course. And I just made sure that anytime I spotted a weakness anywhere, I would focus on that weakness. Now, here's the thing that a lot of people don't do. When they've got a weakness, they ignore it. They procrastinate. And that's something I will not do. I will throw myself at a weakness and make it a strength. And I've done it with my learning. I've done it in my sports. I've done it in my business. And I literally will not allow myself to have a weakness if I can see that it's there. And some things I'm like, it's too much to do, or it's too much to take on because it's a very specialist skill set. Well, here's the good news, employ someone that can do it. It's done, isn't it? It's that simple. So that's all I've ever done.
So I got to ask this question, because virtually anyone that's watching that is starting a business, they're always like, how do I get to that point where I can start hiring someone? And you said something huge there. Your specialty was marketing. And I think so many people have it the other way around, where their specialty is maybe doing whatever the thing is, and marketing is like, oh, great. I don't know. How do I do that? And what do you say to people like that? Because, clearly marketing is an issue for a lot of people.
Okay. So when I say I was good at marketing, I didn't know much about marketing over in the courses that I've done. But I had a way of thinking that was just different to everybody else. And I'll give you a very quick example. My construction company, I had some money. That was the thing. I had some money to build the company. And I had a marketing budget. And I'm like, so what am I going to do? Like every other builder. Okay, I'm going to put some adverts in the local newspaper. I'm going to put some adverts on the radio. And I'm going to do some local. No, I'm not. Am I bollocks? Like, why? Because that's what everyone else is doing in a saturated market. So I'm thinking, when you hear the word builder in the UK, what's the first thing that springs to your mind? It is cowboy builders. Everyone's petrified of letting someone into their home, working on their home, their pride and joy that they don't know or trust. I've got no trading history. How do I overcome those barriers? So I sat down and thought to myself, I've got a marketing budget. What I did is I literally went to the local news and media and said, I want to run a campaign locally in this area for a family that are less fortunate, and I will do a refurb in their property or an extension completely for free. I will do it for nothing. I had a budget of like £15,000. I could get a reasonable amount of work done, but I wanted a 4-week campaign running through all the local media, finding a family, filtering them out, picking the best one. And it just went crazy. It became like a local SOS campaign. Now, here's the thing. I found this amazing family, and it ended up being filmed and documented, and we've done all this amazing work. And I supported this local charity that then housed them for a week and I had 2 really badly disabled kids, and we just refurbished their house. But what I did is I then went to all of my local suppliers, the people that work with me through my company, the electricians, the painters, the carpet fitters, everybody, the plumbers, and they'd all done it for free. Wow. So all they got was a mention in the local newspaper. Now, here's the thing, right? It cost me about £2,000 and a week of my time, and I managed the whole project from start to finish. The family were like over the moon. The charity were like, wow. The whole local community were crazy. I even got a local hero award. Wow. And my phone did not stop ringing because everyone saw my work. It was good quality work. They saw how I managed the project. I absolutely obliterated the barriers of trust. No one had any doubts about being able to trust me. So instead of spending £10,000-15,000 on marketing, I found a very clever way to smash the barriers and just go straight to market. And within the second year, I was turning over well over £1 million.
Yeah. Wow.
So it wasn't I was good at marketing. I just used my brain a little bit differently to everybody else. And I've done that with every business I've ever run. Yeah.
You really found a way to creatively add value
to everybody. Yeah. Like the family, I was thinking, well, I'm not going to give my money to a local media company. They're just going to spend it and put it in there. I thought that the family benefit. So it wasn't about leveraging off the family. The family were like massively benefiting. Okay, I was winning out of it. Everybody won. It was just a good idea. So, okay, so answer to your question. If I wasn't good at marketing, I always start developing specialist skills. So I'll go online. I'll go to evening classes. I will do correspondence courses. I have stacks of them. Okay. It takes effort. I'm not going to lie to people. Like you've got to put effort in. If you want to get something out of life, I can promise you one thing. There is no shortcut to success. Okay. Despite what these people online are telling you, rubbish. I worked hard. I'd get up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd work through till 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning and go to work. I'd study and I'd develop my skill sets. If I needed someone that I couldn't develop a skill set myself, I had to employ someone. I couldn't afford to employ someone on a full-time basis. I just get them on ad hoc scenarios and just when and as and when I need them. And I'd utilize the people around me to my best ability. And slowly you start piecing things together and off you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love it. Okay. So you're building now. I want to ask you selfishly, I want to ask this question. When you talk about building, not just construction, I mean, when you talk about building a business, and lots of people want to build, and most of them don't necessarily know where they're building to, but they want. I had a gentleman say to me, I want to, because I'm in real estate. He said, well, I want to build $100 million business. I was like, okay, sounds great. Why do you want $100 million business? And he was kind of giving me his answer. I was like, how much money do you actually need to retire? And he didn't know how to calculate that. So my question is, there are people that have aspirations to build something big, and they have no idea how to scale something larger. Is it really about picking something that's scalable, or is there a special something in the sauce that you can say, hey, look, most guys can't take a gym and make it into 4 gyms. Let me tell you how you can do that. Can you say what it is?
Dude, 100%. There's a formula. There's no doubt in my mind. There's a formula to success. Okay, you could put me anywhere in the world with nothing, and I will always find the same level in that society. It doesn't matter where I am. You know what? If someone's listening, they want to challenge me to it, I'm all about that. Put me anywhere you want. Give me 1 month. You put me there with nothing. Within 1 month, I'll have accumulated more than most people would have accumulated in probably 4 years. I guarantee it. There's a formula. So it doesn't come without planning. You can't, okay, $100 million business, great. That's a great goal. I think everyone should have that goal, irrelevant of how much you need to retire. Just pick a goal. It doesn't matter how big it is, but then you have to create like a burning desire to succeed. Okay, it has to become an obsession. You have to make it an obsession, which is why passion is very important. But then you have to create a plan to achieve that goal. You can't just start. Like, I have people come to me all the time and they've got these ideas about business. And I'm like, okay, great. Send me your business plan. Well, I haven't got one. Well, then you're fucked. Like, they've spent no time planning, man. It's like, you've got to spend time planning. You've got to create the brand. You've got to fill that brand. You've got to speak to your market. You've got to resonate with your audience. You've got to then do projections, cash flows. You've got to see that thing working on paper before you should start. That's the biggest mistake I see people making. And okay, some people don't have that natural ability to plan and do the projections. I wasn't born with it. I had to learn it. It was hard work. I had to go back and learn about Excel so I could run these formulas on a spreadsheet. But it's like creating this visual map in front of my eyes. And I'm like, I've built so many business plans and gone, actually, that don't work. And I built business plans. I'm
brilliant.
Like, wow. Yeah. And that's it. It's planned. You have to have a definitive plan of action, but you have to have desire. You have to have passion. There's a few things you need and you have to get them in order. But I don't think $100 million business is out of anybody's league if they've got the formula.
Yeah. Wow. You just crystallized something. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. The number of people that have good ideas that they want money to, and they won't apply the energy necessary to even create that. Wait, look at how much effort I've put in to get this money, and you want me to give it to you without any effort.
Yep, dude, I've had it so many times. People, even to this day, I shit you not, people come to me, I've got this great idea, and I just go, oh God. Tell me about it. And it's like, okay, it's a good idea. Where's your plan? Where's your strategy? Show me.
Yeah.
No, well, and what you think? I'm just going to make you a business plan. Like, do you realize how much time I have to put into that? And I could make you a business plan that it might not even work. And they just don't want to apply. They just want to come up with an idea, give it to you, and then you make them all this money. Sorry, that's not how life works. So
Sorry, finish, please.
No, I was going to say, I said, if people come to me, you think I'm going to make you rich by pushing a button, I said, just don't come anywhere near me, because, you know, it takes effort. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's literally it literally ticks you off, because you know how hard you've had to work to get there. And, you know, okay. I've got to ask this question. Being in real estate, where does, because you're a different type of businessman, where does real estate fit into, you know, your goals, your plans? I mean, your passions and wealth accumulation. Where does that all fit in for you?
Dude, that is a fantastic question, because I've not even mentioned real estate, but real estate has been the biggest money maker for me from day one. So I've always had properties bubbling around in the background. Even here, I've got 3 or 4 properties. I've got tenants in them as we speak. I've got another one in town, tenanted till after Christmas. Property has always been the place where I've made money. So in England, I'd buy properties, store them up, sell them, convert them into HMOs, which is house of multiple occupancies, get licenses, and then sell them as a going concern and double my money in just 18 months. I'd buy a house for 250, sell it for 500,000 in just 18 months, always doing it. And that's how the construction come about, actually, because I was developing these properties. I worked so hard to get on the property ladder, to get a mortgage and get some money and get started. And then I was building these extensions and refurbs, and people knock on the door and say, amazing job, I love the way your guys work. Can because I've managed a team very well. And they'd say, can you price an extension for me? I'm like, sorry, we don't. Where do you live? And I'd go around and I'd say, yeah, I'll give you a price for that. And I would literally throw in a price, and because it's in the work. And that's how the construction company started. Yeah, that's good. But property, real estate, hell yeah, that's the place to be. I mean, I don't think there's a better investment in the world, in most parts of the world, should I say.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. Oh, now I'm all excited and I don't know what to say. Oh, you got that nice feeling going. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna cry now. It's great. I love it. I mean, I got to be honest. I love real estate, and I'm in the area of real estate really because I was like, I don't know if I'm smart enough to figure out some of these other things that people have figured out.
Don't you ever speak to me like that again? Yes, you are.
Well, you're just talking about all these things, and I'm like, I know in real estate, if I do this, and this. Meanwhile, you know, some of these other things, like here we are on social media, we're having fun. I was like, I don't know how to do all these things. I'll do it anyways. I'll go down it anyways. But in real estate, I don't know, unless you do something stupid. I don't know how you can mess that one up, right? People have been doing it for thousands of years. And so, you just warmed my heart there by sharing that. Okay.
Awesome,
so
dude. Love that.
so let me ask this. Where does real estate fit versus building a business, building other types of businesses? Because obviously you've built many other types of businesses.
Yeah, still am now. I mean, I've got a digital marketing and web development company, and I'm about to sign an agreement for a huge, massive combat sports organization in Thailand. It's going to be history in the making. So there's a lot of stuff going on. But like for me,
wait, you don't need to pass that over. You can share. You can share.
I can't yet. I'm literally just about to sign the contract. I can't say anything until I've done it.
Okay.
If we can jump back on, I'll give you an exclusive on it. But yeah, it's huge. I mean,
love it.
It's but for me, and I've achieved a lot in my life. This is going to be the biggest and most impressive achievement of my life to date, if it goes the way that my business plan that I spent months planning works out, which I'm sure it will, because it's a success already on paper. So anyway, that's another story, dude. But for me, look. No one has ever got rich without making smart investments. Okay, you could build businesses, okay, businesses earn you money. You can make money out of businesses, of course you can. But all of the greatest people in the world that have made lots of money have all been very clever with their investments. It's like almost like a passive source of income, isn't it? So for me, like property and real estate has always been a steady investment for me. Like you hear about these cryptocurrencies and people are saying they're investing in them. That's gambling. They ain't investing. Okay, you can make money on them, but it's gambling. investing in property is an investment. And you got these new modern day gurus saying you shouldn't buy property because people aren't going to buy them anymore. They're going to rent them. Well, what do you think I buy them for? I buy them to rent them. Stupid fucking people. But anyway, I've heard people say it like, don't buy properties because no one's going to buy them anymore. They're going to rent them. I'm like, how stupid is that? That's what I buy them. Anyway, so it's always been an investment. I just think it's a solid, especially in the UK. Yeah. That's the one thing about the UK that's good. But even here, the rental yield I get here is like 10%. It's really good. Wow. And when are you ever going to lose value of a property? I mean, okay, there are ups and downs, but it's a general trend upwards wherever you are, as long as you've got insurance and it doesn't burn to the ground. you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I love what you're saying. I mean, even, you're really saying something controversial right now just by talking about crypto and going against it, because you know, as I know, everybody, crypto is the way to go. But I'll say this about that. There is definitely, and I'm not a techie by any sense, but clearly I can see applications for that type of technology.
Yep.
The one thing, and maybe this is getting away from what we're talking about on the show, but to me, I can't see how the governments of the world, really function with crypto, because it's just taking away all their power. And I don't know, they kill people over power. So
right. Where are they going to go? I mean, that's the one thing I like about crypto. I don't dislike crypto, and you can make a lot of money in crypto. I'm not saying you can't, but what I'm saying is that is not an investment in the purest sense of what an investment is. I'm sorry, it's a gamble. It goes up and down, and literally you can watch it, because I've actually got them on my phone. Don't get me wrong, I've got cryptocurrencies on my phone, and they go up, down, but I only play around with little bits of money because it's not an investment to me, it's a gamble.
Yeah. Wow. Brilliant. Okay. I really did not realize we could go into this area and we were going to go down this road, but it's absolutely brilliant. I'm loving it. And I think it's really interesting because of where you've come from, right? Through all those hardships, through all of that, through those years. I mean, now we have to talk a little bit about MMA and I just your mindset in there, because obviously, clearly, we can see that you took that mentality and you brought it into the business world. But MMA, what did that do for you as a man? What did it do for you to bring you to where you are now?
Good question. So when I was a kid growing up, obviously I just loved to fight. I was in so much trouble. I got in a lot of trouble. I'm not going to lie. I was a toe rag. I always had a heart and I was honorable. I wasn't a thief and I never hit a woman, or I was never a bully. But I just used to get in a lot of fights, and, it would be doormen, sometimes police officers. I didn't really care as long as it was stacked heavily against me, because I like to challenge. But, when MMA come along, I was like, wow. So what you're telling me, I can get in there, right, and beat the shit out of this guy, and I'm not going to go to jail for it. I'm all about that. So initially for me, it was a bit of fun. It was just to let off that steam, that aggression, that adrenaline that I had just building up inside of me. That's all it was. And it just turned into a passion and a career. So that's kind of all it was, really. I just wanted to fight. Yeah.
Why stop?
Because I got old, man. So this is the thing, right? I'm a perfectionist, and I can remember I won my big title. It's the one thing I focused for. So I won two, and I've worked so hard for this one title, and I won it so convincingly. I was 39 years old, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm so glad I won that, because if I didn't, I'd still be there now, getting my head smashed in, trying to win that title, because I was literally at the peak, and I felt myself having to work twice as hard, feeling a lot more pain, recovering not as fast, and my performance, even when I was working harder, was just starting to come down. And I can't go in there lesser than I was the fight before. I can't. I have to be constantly making progress. And I just knew that at 39, I wasn't going to make that progress anymore. I could feel my body just not letting it happen. And I'm sorry, you guys, however strong your mindset is, we're at a certain point in our lives, the physical side of you is going to start to deteriorate. And I'm still powerful, strong and fit, but I'm nowhere near as powerful, strong and fit as I would want to be if I was still competing. So for me, a perfectionist, if I can't perform at my absolute best and feel good about it, I don't want to be there, because then it takes the whole excitement out of it for me. So I stopped. But I stopped and quit while I was ahead. 10 professional fights, 2 titles, had a fantastic career. I made a lot of money, and I loved every minute of it.
Whoa. Okay. Hang on a second. Oh man, there's something else I wanted to say, but you just mentioned that you made a lot of money in a place where so many fighters talk about they can't make any money. I mean, the latest, of course, was Jared Cannonier, who just said, well, I've made money. It's not like I'm broke, but you know, I'm not making.
He actually said he's broke. He actually said, I'm broke.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah. he had to go back and change his statement. He goes, I'm not broke, but I'm not making the money that I should be making at this level of the game. And here you are. You never made it to the UFC, but you just said, I made a lot of money. Can you say something?
I made a lot of money. I used to be, I wouldn't say I was arrogant. I was just joking. But I'd say to people, look, there's no money in MMA in the UK. And they'd say, why? I said, because I've got it all. I'm sorry, it's so bad to say. And I used to say it as a joke. But honestly, I made a lot of money out of MMA. I made a lot of money out of fighting. I built my gyms. I had sponsorships. I mean, I negotiated £200,000 worth of sponsorships. One deal on my own. I only had 4 fights. I went to the biggest, the best suppliers of gym equipment in the world, Hammer Strength and Life Fitness, and I put a proposal their way, and they took it, and they even give me a £10,000 bonus after I won one of my fights. Dude, I made a fortune out of MMA. I managed to negotiate fight fees because I'd bring so many followers to the events, and then I'd negotiate 50% ticket deals, and I would literally make, like, on small shows, £25,000 a fight when I'd only had a few fights. And okay, you can make a lot more money than that these days, but trust me, back then that was big money. I just applied the same strategies of building a brand, getting people excited, just being honest and delivering a good service as well, you know. And I found opportunities to make money everywhere. And I made a lot of money just from MMA.
I love that. Okay, I got to ask one other question about, I know we've reached our time, but I want to ask this question about a mentality of a fighter in a cage, because you knew it was time to give up. And I've seen fighters that you can literally watch them in a fight, and it seems like they give up at some point in the fight. You're like, no, the fight's over. He's given up right there. But they keep going, and they get knocked out again, or they get beaten again, and they keep going. And you kind of ask yourself, why are they still out there fighting? What do you being around the sport legitimately, what do you see, and what can you say about that?
I love that question too, man. So, okay, I can tell exactly how I feel about that. So me, when I get in that cage, I'm willing to die. Okay, the referee stops it. Okay, I got to stop. But other than that, I am, like, physically willing to die, like dead. And I'm fine with that. So you can't stop me. So part of me knew quitting while I was ahead was the best thing, because otherwise I'm just going to get myself into some really bad situations where I'm going to end up dead, which is fine if I'm in there. But anyway, but the other thing that really struck me when I was a kid, I watched my great heroes in the cage, and they inspired me to fight, and they got old. And then all I remember seeing them at the end of their career was just getting beaten up the whole time. And I thought, like, you've just undone not all the respect, because I had so much respect for them, but they'd undone a lot of the respect I had for them. Like, there's a point where you've got to hand that sport over to the next generation and just let them be, because you don't undo your legacy. But I just hated watching my heroes getting battered week after week after week. It's like, and I didn't want to be that guy. I really didn't want to be that guy. So I decided to hang my gloves up. That being said, if I had to fight to this day, I'd fight to the death again. Wouldn't change.
Did you watch Mike Tyson come back when he was fighting Roy Jones? Did you watch that fight?
No.
Oh, okay.
Mike Tyson's one of my heroes. I've got a signed picture of him on my wall. He's one of my ultimate heroes of all time, but no.
I was scared to watch that fight because I was afraid. I was like, I watched him come up, and I was like, what's he going to be here in this fight? And I was so inspired to see him really show up. You know, older man. Okay, great. I wasn't expecting the Tyson of old, but he really
No.
showed up. I was really happy for him.
Yeah.
And now I'm scary. He's talking about fighting again, but
See what I mean? Tyson's one of my all-time heroes, and I love the guy. I love everything about him, but I find it hard to watch, and I just don't want to see that guy that was my hero just not performing like he used to. And that's just me. It's not right. It's not wrong. It's just how I feel.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to look back at myself and go, oh, why did I do that? Why did I not stop then? You know, not about anybody else. Wow. It was about me looking back.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Wow. Nick, I mean, there's so much stuff that you just shared with us. Amazing. Man, I got this warm feeling in my heart. I got to tell you, I'm so glad to have you on the show.
Thank you,
I'm so glad that that I just got to pick more of your brain and get to hear these things. And I really am so happy for you as you're getting ready for this next step of, in your journey in this life with the new kid on the way. And I believe around November, right?
January, I think January 6th. Yeah.
January. Okay. New year, baby.
I'll be honest with you, dude. Like my whole life, even at my lowest points, my worst points, I've always had my shit together. Right now, I'm petrified. I've got no fucking idea what I'm going to do with this baby. I'm going to do my best. And that's what I mean. I'm quite happy to admit when I'm scared, bro. Talking about fear, I don't know. I just don't want to mess this beautiful little creature's life up. I want to just try and do my best. But yeah, it's scary.
I love it. I love it. Well, look, I absolutely want to get you back on the show after you've had your baby, and we get to see your new perspective on life, what you've learned. Obviously, you're a deep thinker. Obviously, you're driven. Obviously, you're a man that learns from his mistakes. And I think there's so much. I know that we've only scratched the surface of you, your life, and the lessons that can be learned. And we absolutely love that you came on the show. Nick, thank you so much.
Neil, thank you, my man. I mean, we've had a lot of chats behind the screen, and you're quite an inspirational guy yourself, dude. So maybe one day we should flip roles and let me quiz you about your life, because I know you got some dark secrets and some interesting shit that I'd like to hear more about too. But thank you so much, Neil. Honestly, it's been
great. Thank you so much. Guys, you better watch this whole show, and we're gonna get Nick back on the show after he's had his kid, and hopefully we get a little exclusive in there somewhere when we find out about this mega deal. We're gonna talk about this mega deal that's coming up, and how you master plan that one into existence too. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for watching.